Joining us now is National Senator Matt Canavan. I promised you he'd be here, and here he is. Matt, thanks so much for joining us. You're in Yeppoon, I gather, which is fantastic. They're lucky to have you there. We've got you here now. And you can tell us, Matt, all about why are Labor now giving more and more money to rich people to put batteries in their rich garages next to their rich EVs?
Well, Rowan, this government is effectively a reverse Robin Hood. It takes from the poor and gives from the rich. You can see that directly in its decision over the last fortnight. There's two decisions. One, to end the rebates it was giving to Australian households. They were worth $300 a year for all households in Australia, but particularly obviously helping those poorer among us. The cost of those rebates was about $3.5 billion a year. And yes, they're very expensive. And yes, what we should be doing is running our electricity system to actually lower prices, get prices back down so we don't have to provide these rebates. But the effect of removing these rebates just before Christmas has meant that the poorer families among us, those less fortunate, really don't have the money to buy Christmas presents for their kids anymore. I mean, $300 is a lot of money for families that are struggling. Families that have to budget every penny. And that means that things like Christmas gifts, holidays, all have to be cut back in those families. Instead, what the government has done, they said, we can't afford the $3 billion or so for the rebates, but we're going to give $5 billion to rich families who can afford to buy a battery. Because keep in mind, these batteries aren't free. Poor families can't get them. There's no point in renters getting them. The renters aren't going to put batteries in their homes because they might not be in that home in the next few years. These batteries cost, even after the government subsidies, typically around $10,000. I mean, the only people who have $10,000 in this struggling economy are those that are very well off. And good luck to people who are well off. But I don't understand when we're running a massive debt, when we're approaching $1 trillion in public debt, when interest rates are going up, why we're giving $5 billion to families who can afford their Christmas gifts this year, who could probably often afford a battery anyway, but of course you'd be a mug, as Kerry Packer say, not to take the tax cut, the tax rebate on buying a big battery. But why are we all subsidising those families who can afford to do this anyway?
And probably, Matt, they'll be in Aspen anyway, skiing while the batteries are being installed, so that won't inconvenience them having the Renaults in James.
Well, and, I would argue, Senator, that this is a real intergenerational warfare that Labor is running, as well as economic class warfare, because it's the young and the renters who are going to wind up subsidizing the boomers and the property here. But it's not just those people who are getting money out of this. Now we've also got the Tomago aluminium smelter, which again, because they've made power prices too high, now has to get a huge government bailout to stay in business, not just to make the aluminium, but because also this critical national security infrastructure. How does all of this work? And you mentioned interest rates before. All of this must have an inflationary effect, which again is going to make it harder for everybody with the price of groceries and the price of a mortgage and everything else.
Yeah, I'll step through both those things there, James. There's another reverse Robin Hood being done here with Rio Tinto. We have this major problem of massive energy price increases, some of the highest energy prices in the world now. That puts pressure on, obviously, businesses that use a lot of energy, like the aluminium smelter at Tomago. That smelter employs over 1,000 people. I want to see that going. I'm very passionate about keeping manufacturing in this country. But because we've destroyed our energy grid in this pursuit of intermittent, unreliable, renewable energy, we're now having to bail out a company that used to make money, used to pay taxes to help us run public services. We're having to bail them out, probably to the tune of billions of dollars. We don't know how much, because the Prime Minister's approach to negotiation with big companies is here's a blank cheque, just fill in the numbers later. That's what the Prime Minister's done this week. He's just given Rio Tinto, one of the biggest companies in the world, one of the most ruthless companies in the world. Good luck to them. Rio Tinto, they're pretty ruthless. So you don't get to be one of the biggest mining companies in the world by playing tiddlywinks. And he's just given those executives a blank cheque. They'd be laughing their heads off in the boardroom right now because they can just write whatever they want because the Prime Minister said, we're going to save it. We just work out the numbers later. And I'll just make this other point here, though. Like, I want to save those 1,000 jobs at Tomago. But since we adopted net zero, we have 100,000 fewer manufacturing jobs. 100,000 fewer. Most of those jobs have been lost in small and medium manufacturing enterprises that you and I have never heard of, that never hit the news. Just small businesses who can't cope anymore and have to shut their doors. I was talking to someone the other day who had to do this. They were investing in green waste manufacturing. They were trying to be a green company, but they couldn't cop the higher electricity prices and have had to shut. And the 10 employees they had gone, doesn't make the news. Of course, no subsidy from the government. So why are we allowing a situation to emerge here where the Australian government will bail out a multinational company, good luck to Rio Tinto, but a multinational company to the tune of billions of dollars, but the average small family manufacturing businesses in this country get no relief, get no support, get completely ignored from this government because of their mad pursuit of net zero above all other things. And this net zero agenda now is riding roughshod over our energy competitiveness, our ability to make things, over small businesses in the countries that don't have the size and the heft and the political support of Rio Tinto. They're the victims. The casualties of net zero are those small manufacturing businesses that have added up to Australia having 100,000 fewer manufacturing jobs than when we first adopted net zero.
Rita. And on net zero, the government is dressing up this massive cost blowout you spoke about with the battery subsidy scheme. They're saying this is just a sign that the program is hugely successful and popular. That's why there's a cost blowout. That's why they've had to devote another $5 billion to it. What's your response to that? Is this a sign that Australians do want to have this sort of battery backup, and that's why this has gone from a $2 billion scheme to a $7.2 billion scheme?
Well, Australians are just desperate for some kind of relief. They'll grab at anything. When you're drowning, you'll grab at anything to save yourself. And Australian families are drowning right now under energy bill surges. So, of course, some are going to go for batteries. And we have no problem. I have no problem with people investing in renewable energy in their own home. Some people can make that work. It's very expensive, and it's really questionable whether it's a long-term good investment given the size of the costs of these batteries. Obviously, if they're subsidised, that changes the calculation a little bit. But you can sort of make that work at your household because you only use your electricity at peak sort of demand a few hours a day. You might turn the air conditioning on in the evening when you're home, and that's about it. You can make it work. The problem we've got is that doesn't scale. Businesses use 4 times the amount of energy than households do in Australia. 4 times. And if you're running a factory, you can't run it on whether or not, or you can't run your factory on a weather forecast. Mm-hmm. The BOM website doesn't work half the time. Even when it does work, you don't want to have to be pulling it up to decide whether you can run your machines today if it's the weather conditions are just right with the sun and the wind and the limited battery capacity you're ever going to be able to put in a factory. It doesn't work. Things like aluminium smelting, things like basic manufacturing need to have their power on all the time. And that's why we have to get back to running an energy system that has more balance. This government just putting all their eggs in the renewable basket is destroying our country, destroying our economic wealth, destroying our manufacturing jobs. As I said, 100,000 manufacturing jobs lost. We can't keep going on like this. What we should be doing is running a balanced electricity system, which has some renewables, but also has types of power that can meet demand for things like manufacturing. That provide the opportunities for things like data centres and AI, which need even more reliability to their power than an aluminium smelter. And we just don't have any balance in our energy system right now. You need to have a balanced diet for your health, and we need to have a balanced energy system for our economic health too.
Well, Matt, I hope you'll be having a balanced diet over Christmas there, Christmas pudding and up in Townsville, and you'll have a great Christmas, I'm sure.
All 5 food groups.
Fantastic. Matt, thank you so much for being
Especially prawns.
Exactly. Thanks so much for being such an important part of Outsiders this year. Been fantastic.